Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and we're going to be going over UFC Seattle, which takes place this Saturday. And this video, we're just going to do a general DFS slate breakdown where we go over the best plays and go over some ideas on ownership and leverage and things like that. But we are going to do a lineup construction video tomorrow. Actually, Saturday itself, I'm going to be out for the morning, actually all day Saturday. But so I do want to get the lineup construction video down by then. Hopefully by then we'll have all my sims running and we'll be able to have the ownership tight enough where we can speak intelligently about the lineup construction. Nonetheless, we did manage to piece together a 12 fight card after a lot of variance with a lot of dropouts and things like that. But it's a clean card. In other words, you have 12 fights. There's no completely mispriced fighters due to these replacement fighters. You had a completely new fight created between Austin Vanderford and Nikolai Vertenikov. So they were able to price it efficiently. So that's good news. There's only one 5 round fight. So that's good news as well from a DFS perspective, because if you have two 5 round fights on a 12 fight card, you're going to get some serious chalk. Um, so we're going to approach this like anything else. I mean, we're going to try to find good metrics, try to find good pricing, and just give you an idea of what I like here. All right, so I guess let's start with the first one. We don't really have the props yet for this, but you have Austin Vanderford versus Nikolai Vertenikov, whatever. So without even looking at the salaries, I would hope that Nikolai would be about 8,300 or so because he's a little bit better than Pick'em. Um, and we'll take a look at that in a second. The inside the distance for the fight it's minus 120 for under 2.5, so it doesn't look like it rates to be particularly exciting. But again, this pricing structure, if it's what I think it is, actually he's 8,400. It's a little higher than I would have liked, but um, uh, at this price, I don't think that either one is going to rate to be a particularly good play, unless you can make the case that one of them has all kinds of grappling, and I just don't really see that in this particular matchup. You're just going to have to rely on the um, on the inside the distance lines to justify your plays here. And here, I just don't think that when these lines come out, whatever they are, it's not gonna. I don't think this is gonna be a key fight by any stretch of the imagination. Now we might update this when we do the lineup construction if the inside the distance prop changes, but when you have the fight itself as being you know minus 120 under 2.5, pick them under 2.5 usually correlates to a very poor inside the distance line from either fight. So I don't think that's going to be particularly exciting. Okay, we actually are going a little out of order. First fight, I guess, of the night is Modestas Bukauskas versus. Boy, I don't even want to get this name. Rafael Chiera. I mean, you have a guy who's 9,300 that really doesn't have a reputation for having a lot of finishing upside. So we'll have to take a look at this, but I really doubt he's going to end up being a good play. Oh man, Modestas Bukauskas is actually minus 120 inside the distance. I thought it was going to be worse, but I don't know. At 9,300, I guess it's on the okay side of blah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not going to be trampling over people who played Bukauskas here at 9,300 with a minus 110 inside the distance line. It's not terrible, but I'm not a big fan. And you have Kakera, who unfortunately he doesn't have sufficient. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't have sufficient win odds. Actually, it's okay. So plus 250 to win, and then he's inside at plus 375. Is that all right at 6,900? I would have liked it if I thought Buskauskas was going to be popular, in which case we can get some leverage playing Raphael. But I don't know. I think both these fighters are very, very fishy plays here. All right, Ruzaboev versus Eric Makanico. Another high-priced discrepancy. You have 9,200 versus 7K. And we'll take a look at the metrics here. You have, it's pretty fair. Here you have Ruziboev at -3, -270. Very similar to Modestas Bukauskas. But I have to think that Ruziboev is going to have a higher inside of distance prop. Let's see. Yeah, Ruziboev is -200. I mean, that makes him a significantly better play than Bukowski right out of the gate. So if we're trying to identify kind of like top plays, right now Ruziboev is clearly the top play, -200. That's legit. I want to look at the inside the distance line on McConaughey here. And let's just see what this is, because if it's +300 or something like that, I might have to try it. McConaughey inside the distance, no, it's no good. So if anything in this fight, it's just going to be Ruziboev, and I think he's going to be a very, very strong play. It's probably going to be extremely popular as well. But we'll get to some others, actually, because there are some 9K fighters who are going to garner a lot more ownership than Ruziboev. Like, for example, we'll get to Anthony Hernandez in a minute, but Ruziboev looks really, really strong here. So far, best play. We talked about Vanderford, Varenteknikov, whatever. Jared Basharat versus Ricky Simone. So this fight is probably going to be either a full fade or maybe just the Ricky Simone side. You have two fighters who are are very good grapplers. And you have Basharat, who really doesn't finish anybody. I mean, I can't imagine what this inside the distance line is. Let's see, Basharat inside is +300, right? And we're always adjusting for Vig here. And at 9,200 or whatever he is, that's just atrocious. The only way you could possibly justify that is if you thought he was going to have a big grappling advantage. And while Ricky Simone has been taken advantage of sometimes, Ricky Simone is usually the better grappler. So I think the way this fight usually plays out is Basharat just wins on the feet, and it's just kind of a really boring decision. So I'm probably going to fade this. If anything, I mean, maybe Ricky Simone would be the better option, because if in fact he does win, I mean, he's gotten takedowns every single fight, right? When you look at this, two, even when he loses, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 6, 7, whatever, 7 here. So if in fact he does win, he's gonna score a ton, I think. So I do think he's a good underdog play. The only problem is, again, is because of Basharat's really poor inside the distance line. I think that Basharat's going to be very low owned, which means that Simone, you're not getting a lot of leverage. But so I think he is kind of a good kind of equity play here because of the times that he wins, which is what? I mean, he's only +230. So 30% of the time he's going to win. And I think that the times he wins, he makes the optimal. And not that this is the exact way to analyze it, but he's going to be less than 30% owned. So I think he's a very, very strong underdog play that's probably going to lose. He's going to lose like 70% of the time. But when he wins, you're going to be happy at him. All right, Mansour Abdul Malik. He's a 1,000,000,000 favorite. His inside the distance line, I imagine, is ridiculous. He's -500 or 400 inside the distance. But for his price, which is what, 9,700, we have to really look at what is round one inside the distance line is, and even that's -130. So the issue here is not going to be whether he's a good play. The issue is going to be whether lineup construction can get you in. He has, quick win bonus upside. He's got wrestling. I mean, he's got an unlimited ceiling here. I shouldn't say unlimited. I mean, he's got a 130-point ceiling here. And on the other hand, 9,700's even tough. If I knew he was getting at 120, we would have even played. I don't know. So it's a very strong play, but depending on lineup construction is going to determine where you get there. Klein just doesn't win often enough, so we're not going to get to him. So Andre Fili against Mesquiel Costa. This is, again, another one of these 8,200 8K fights where I have to remind myself that how important it is to lineup construction to play this fight. You very rarely even need a big outcome from either of these fighters, because what it does when you play this fight, it allows you to play lineups that don't have more than, say, one other underdog. If you play, and this is the way the math works out, if you play the main event, for example, and then you play this fight, you probably only have to play one underdog, like if that, and it might not even have to be that much of a punt. So that's why these fights are strong. It's not from a fight perspective. It's just it makes the rest of your lineups just work so well. So you have to be a lot more, I don't know, forgiving when you do the analyses of these fights. That's also why if you do get a fight in this price range that rates to be strong, it's just almost a lock. So Andre Fili versus Costa. I mean, I'm sure the inside the distance line is very blah, and it is. I mean, Fili inside is plus 320 or something. Costa inside plus like 420. So Fili's going to be the better side here. As far as DFS goes, what's the actual prices? Let's pick them on the board. I mean, it's basically no money line value. You're just going to have to include both of these guys. I mean, in your lineup builds. I mean, unless you really, really love like a big underdog. So, like for example, you want to play Ricky Simone, then you don't have to play these guys. But look what this does for you. You play like even Fili. Now you only have to play like, well, I even gave you the 9,700 guy. If you didn't play the 9,700 guy, let's say you want to play, I'll go up to Hernandez for a minute. I mean, how popular is Hernandez? Then you don't really have to play anybody that big of a punt, after this. So that's why this mid-range fight is pretty strong. Not because their DFS upside is that great, but again, if you look at it from a lineup perspective, it's going to be a good play. Now, likewise, if you are going to have to pick the best one, Fili does have the better inside the distance line, so yeah, may as well pick the best one. Ian Kutalaba versus Ibo Aslan. I think that this is going to be one of the most popular, if not the most popular, underdog on the slate. We're used to playing Ian Kutalaba. We play him a lot, and sometimes he wins. Sometimes he loses. You see, like a couple of fights ago, he got a first round knockout, for example. I mean, this is a guy that we've just been kind of playing, and you get him as an underdog here. And check this out: you got 3 takedowns, 8 takedowns, 3 takedowns. So he's going to be really popular. So if you wanted to, now I'm not saying he's a bad play, but what I was going to say is that if you want to get some kind of leverage, you'll play the objectively worst play in Aslan. But even this is a good play. Look at Aslan here. Wow, Aslan inside is minus 120. Wow. Well, where is the? Well, this is really funny. Like, where is the leverage actually? Who is going to be the most popular? Who's going to be more popular between Aslan and Kutalaba? I don't know, but and we'll do ownership projections probably tomorrow. But I don't even know who's getting the leverage on whom here. This is such an amazing metric for Aslan. So I think you play. I think you probably play both of these guys. Kind of ugly, but that's what I would do. So what do we got here? We get back to Hernandez. We like Simone as a possible punt. We like both sides of this fight. We also don't mind this Fili fight just because of the pricing. Okay, let's use Fili for example. Okay. So if you did that again, you could play another 9K. You could play the main event. Whatever. So this is kind of like this fun, like cash game build, I guess. I mean, you play Kutalaba. I mean, now you do really almost whatever you want. All right. Julius Walker versus Alonzo Menafield. You have 8,700, 7,500, and it's a reasonable money line here. Let's take a look at the inside the distance line because Menafield does have a reputation for not being the greatest finisher. But look at this. Oh my God, Menafield minus 130. Boy, oh boy. Well, how about Walker inside plus 300? That's not bad either. This is very interesting because Alonzo Menifield, he has been part of some real stinkers. Like this fight here against William Knight was one of the worst, most boring fights in the world. Okay. He sorry. He got a nice win over Jacoby. Nice win over Crute. Crute came back pretty nicely the other week. Then he just got toasted in a couple of fights here. How do you have 15 significant strikes in 2 rounds when you had a minute 51 control time? I don't know. Well, it's an ugly play, but listen, the metrics don't lie. I mean, they might lie, but you gotta have to respect it. So think about this. Like Ruza Boev, let's go back to him for a second. Ruza Boev's inside the distance line. It's been so long since I looked at it. Actually, so he's minus 200. So he's definitely a better play than Menafield. And then you have, who was the other one we said? Aslan minus 120. You had obviously Abdul Malik with like plus 400 or something like that. But Menafield is right there in the mix. You play all these, and you can play a 9K. Like Anthony Hernandez, we'll get to in very, very, very short order. Right, John Silva um, versus Bagdasharian. We have 9,500. So that's rough. Let's see what his inside the distance line is. Minus 140. I mean, for his price, that's not great, right? Because we just looked at others with similar price tags, with lower price tags with the same inside the distance. I mean, let's go back to Menafield. Menafield's inside the distance line is pretty much the same, and he is $400 cheaper, something like that. So yeah, so Silva's a bit speculative, and Bagdasharian, he just doesn't win often enough. So we have only 3 fights left to go, and again, let's remember where we are. So here are some decent favorites: Ruzaboev, Menafield, uh, Aslan, sneaky. I think he's. Then if you wanted to swap out somebody for Ruzaboev, Aslan, Menafield, I mean, these other guys are not bad. Like Buskaskis is not. He was like what minus 110. We said that's no good. So uh, okay, last 2 fights. Oh, it's 3 fights. We have John Masamoto versus Rob Font. So Rob Font is pure striker, but he's actually a really, really good pure striker. I imagine this fight's going to be one of the lowest owned on the slate because the inside the distance lines are extremely poor. Yeah, Matsumoto inside plus one. What is this? Like plus 400? I mean, that's a disaster. I mean, unless you can sell me on the idea that he's going to go for incredible amount of takedowns here. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about this. I mean, he did take down Dan Argueta twice, who's a stone cold wrestler. But I don't know. I think he's going to try to bang with them. I don't know. I think it's a mistake, but I just don't see the big ceiling for Matsumoto here. So I'm probably going to be in the full favor this fight. All right, Anthony Hernandez versus Brandon Allen. I mean, you just take one look at Hernandez, and then this is what you get. Nothing but hundos. You know, nothing but just insane cardio and all of that. His last fight, I think this is like the all-time record. 192 fantasy points. Maybe there's been more, but that's what you get. And when you have these 5 round fights with these stone cardio machines. These are the types of ceilings you get, and these others. I mean, I'll put it to you this way: like Shabazian in the fight back in May, Shabazian dominated round one, and then the Hernandez train just kind of took over. So there's literally no way to argue with an Anthony Hernandez play here. And he's only 9K, and every time he wins, he scores a billion. However, Brandon Allen's not bad either. Okay. Check this out. He had was it 9 fight win streak before he finally ran into Nassim Imavov, who, as you might know, he subsequently went on um beat to just knock out Izzy, right? Just confirm that. I feel like it just happened 2 days ago. Yeah, I mean to so this is no Eddie, not that Cannoneer before that. This is no shame, to lose to Imavov. And aside from that, for Brandon Allen, I mean, I should say he's done nothing wrong. He hasn't really beaten anybody. Like that's the thing. Like he won a split decision against Chris Curtis. He won. He was really good against Paul Craig. Actually, he was totally dominant against Bruno Silva, but he'd already checked out. Big win against Andre Muniz. Jotko for subbing him in the first. That's not bad. He beat Jacob Malkoun, who's a freaking animal. And I don't want to say he's the same as Anthony Hernandez, but Jacob Malkoun is a big cardio machine who goes for a zillion takedowns as usual. You know what I mean? Whatever. So I don't know. How did he lose to Phil Hawes? That's what I want. Anyway, um, yeah, I think Brandon Allen's live here. I don't know what to say. And you have Anthony Hernandez as being, I imagine, the most popular fighter on the slate. But how is he not? That Brandon Allen is just extreme leverage here. So I think that we'll get to the main event in a minute. I think Brandon Allen is just as good, if not even a better underdog than um, Simone. And the reason why, again, is I think that Brandon Allen, he has upside as well. I think he has I think he has the cardio for 3 rounds to deal with Anthony Hernandez. And Anthony Hernandez, he's he could take some punishment. So I think that Brandon Allen maybe wins on the feet. And I'll tell you this, and here's the cool part. If you get a win out of Brandon Allen, I don't even care what his score is because you're directly taking out like all of those Anthony Hernandez lineups. Okay. So I think Brandon Allen's extremely strong. Hernandez, obviously, incredible player. I think that I really do think that you want to get 100% of this fight. I don't know how you don't, because if one of them wins, he always scores over 100. If the other guy wins, he gets leverage over the most popular fighter on the slate. So that's that. Main event: Son Yadong versus Henry Cejudo. Okay. So here's the problem. At 8,900, you're gonna need, you're gonna need points. And Son Yadong, it doesn't feel like he's gonna get any takedowns. I mean, Cejudo's obviously a great wrestler. So if that's the case, how is he going to get these points in his win? Well, let's take a look at some of these inside the distance lines. Let's see. Song inside the distance +1. What is this? +1, +200 maybe? Yikes. So that's not great. Is he going to get there in a decision? Well, I mean, we can take a look at some of his decisions, I guess. I guess he did get 107 points against Gutierrez. Is that good enough? Yeah, I guess so. Ricky Simone, 104. Yeah, so I guess this was a first round. So I guess he's okay. And Henry Cejudo, uh, well, I don't know. I mean, he's 7,300. These are not the kind of guys I usually play. Like these guys that are at the edge of the end of their careers, sort of, not really active. Son Yudong is like continuing to kind of improve, whatever. Henry Cejudo is more of a teacher nowadays, I think. Um, he got, was pretty non-competitive against Marab, but not that many people are. Aljamain Sterling, that was kind of a funny fight. Some people thought that he won, whatever. I don't know. It was kind of uneventful, really, as far as I was concerned. I mean, he did get 3 takedowns against Aljamain Sterling. So I guess that's going to be how he tries to win. So if he wins, you're going to want it. So unfortunately, I think you are going to have to kind of deal with this main event and play it. So what do we have here? We have, at least in my world, you have the three main underdogs here. They're all decent punts. Simone, Allen, Cejudo. And I think that probably these two are better because I don't think that Basharat's going to get much ownership, so you don't get the leverage. And of these two, I think that Brandon Allen's going to be the best because I'm telling you, Anthony has got to be 50% owned on this slate. Where it's not clear how popular Sonya Dong's going to be, but he's got to be over 30, right? Maybe 35. But who's going to be higher on Cejudo or Allen? You could just play them both. And yes, obviously Hernandez is the better play, but again, we're talking about GPPs and how to get a little different. So just to kind of review, Bukaskas has now dropped off my list. Ruzbov, good underdog, good favorite. Probably going to pass on this late edition fight. Basharat, no. Simone, we talked about good underdog. If you can get to Malik, great. I mean, you probably can, right? So if you did like this, and you can even play another, man, if you know what I mean, you could play this way pretty easily. If you played like Allen and Cejudo and got away with it, I mean, the world is your oyster here. So that's my overall look on the slate. We're going to do again, I keep forgetting to do the betting breakdowns. I guess those are not as interesting to me anymore. And we'll do a lineup construction video using SaberSim and Paydirt to help with the dupes as well tomorrow. That'll do it. Good luck, everybody.